There's a promise quietly spreading across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. A promise that sounds too good to ignore. Be your own bank. Tax-free wealth. Guaranteed growth. This is what the rich actually do. And the most dangerous part? It almost makes sense. Because infinite banking isn't sold as a scam. It's sold as exclusive knowledge, something they don't want you to understand. But today, we're going to slow it down. Strip away the buzzwords and look at what infinite banking really is and what it quietly costs you. Infinite banking is usually marketed as a financial unlock. Instead of putting your money in a traditional bank, instead of investing it in the stock market, you use whole life insurance as your personal banking system. You overfund the policy, build up what's called cash value, and you borrow against it when you need money. No banks, no credit checks, no taxes when you borrow. On the surface, it sounds brilliant, especially if you hate market volatility, want guaranteed returns, and like the idea of having control. And that's exactly why the pitch works. Because infinite banking doesn't target reckless people. It targets disciplined savers, people who already have money and are looking for a safe place to put it. But here's the first truth no one ever leads with. Infinite banking only works on paper if you already have large amounts of excess cash. We're not talking about $100 a month. We're talking $10,000 or more per year, consistently for decades. And even then, the person who benefits first is not you. It's the insurance company. Why? Because whole life insurance is one of the most expensive financial products that exists. It's built on massive commissions, long surrender periods, meaning you can't get your money out for years without a huge penalty, and complex fee structures hidden inside those guarantees. Before your money ever starts working for you, it works for them. Then there's the dividend illusion. You'll often hear proponents say, these policies pay 5 to 6% dividends. It sounds like a safe stock market level return without any of the risk. Here's the problem with that. That dividend does not apply to all of your money. It doesn't apply to the total premium you pay every year. Only the cash value portion earns that rate. The rest of your money? It pays for the insurance itself. It pays for administrative fees, and it pays for those massive commissions we just talked about. When researchers and consumer watchdogs actually look at the real net return after all of those costs are stripped away, the long-term average return of a whole life insurance policy is often just 1 to 3%. Sometimes it's even lower. That's not a theory. That's math. And the big promise is this: you can borrow against your whole life insurance policy tax-free. And that part is technically true, but it's what they don't emphasize that turns this dream into a trap. You're borrowing your own money, and you're paying an insurance company interest for the privilege. Think about that. You pay premiums for years to build up cash. When you need money, you don't withdraw it. You take a loan from the insurer using your cash as collateral. They charge you, say, 5% interest. Meanwhile, your policy might be earning a dividend of, say, 5.5%. Proponents will call this a win, but it's a tightrope walk. If that loan interest rate is higher than the dividend you're paid, you lose money on every dollar you borrow. If the dividend rate drops, which it can, you lose. If the policy simply doesn't perform as the beautiful projection showed you, you lose. And every dollar of an unpaid loan is a dollar your family won't get from the death benefit. The more you bank on yourself with this method, the more fragile the whole thing becomes. But let's say the math works out for you. There's a bigger problem: the lock-in. This might be the most dangerous part of the whole strategy. Once your money is inside a whole life policy, it isn't really yours to control. You can't just leave. For the first 10, sometimes 15 years, these policies have something called surrender penalties. It's a fee for quitting early. If you change your mind in year 3 or 4 because you need the cash or found a better strategy, you could walk away with less money than you put in. That's a guaranteed loss. This isn't the freedom of a bank account. It's not control. It's a rigid, long-term contract designed to benefit the company, not you. And that brings us to the quietest cost of all, the real lie, the opportunity cost. It's not about the money you might lose to fees or interest. It's about the money you will almost certainly fail to gain.
Think of what that same money could have been doing instead. It could have been in a simple, low-cost index fund. It could have been capturing your full 401k match at work. That's free money. It could have been growing completely tax-free in a Roth IRA or an HSA. Historically, the broad stock market has returned 8 to 10% over long periods. A well-designed whole life policy? After all the costs and fees are baked in, you're lucky to get a net return of 3 to 5%. Infinite banking doesn't fail by actively losing your money over 30 years. It fails by leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. So, let's be clear. Infinite banking isn't a magical loophole. It's not a secret strategy of the elite. It's a high-commission insurance product dressed up in sophisticated language. And that complexity isn't a feature. It's a giant flashing warning sign. If a financial strategy requires perfect conditions to work, pages of disclaimers, and a spreadsheet to understand, it probably wasn't designed for your benefit. Real wealth isn't built by finding clever loopholes. It's built by owning things that grow, productive assets. It's built by keeping your cost low, and it's built by staying flexible so you can adapt to life's changes. Infinite banking sells you the illusion of certainty, but real, lasting wealth is built on clarity, and clarity beats cleverness every single time.